Though stunning, Chief of War's depiction of pre-colonial Hawaii is not entirely positive. There is brutality, awful weaponry in battle, and kings who dream of invasion and colonialism. The castaway John Young informs his companion Kamehameha that women are submissive to men, a depressing reality that has existed everywhere he has traveled. Men tell themselves that this is how God wants the world to function in Hawaii and the world of white people. Kamehameha has witnessed his fair share of violence both domestically and overseas as a war chief, fugitive, hunter-trapper, reverse castaway, and refugee. Nothing, however, prepares him for what awaits him on the day he sets sail home with a load of weapons that will allow him to defeat the despotic, violent King Kahekili, whom he previously served. He hears a baby sobbing from behind a canvas sheet while searching for his missing friend Tony. He discovers people, including the infant, caged like animals as he opens the flap. He feels so angry and disgusted by what he sees on Jason Momoa's leonine visage that it appears to slow time. When an irate slaver begins yelling at Kamehameha for opening the tarp, you can only imagine how he responds. Kamehameha runs for his life after Spanish soldiers save the bastards. Although Captain Mears lies to the men on behalf of his man, the war chief is not going to spend the night sitting around, even though his fellow Hawaiian exile, persuades him to wait for him before taking ship. Kamehameha won't arrive at the ship at all if he doesn't get there quickly. However, Kamehameha is not going to shrug and move on, in line with the mythic scope that authors Doug Young, Momoa, and Thomas Pae Sibbick give to real history. With a rifle in hand, he enters a sweatshop that uses slave labor, murders the last guard, and releases all the slaves and captives, including Tony. Here, Kamehameha's rage against these disgusting individuals and his messianic liberation of the slaves is a stunning sight, given power and beauty by Momoa. Before enemies who were just as cartoonishly racist took over our nation due to a lack of Kamehamehas when we needed them, this type of catharsis against easily defeated foes seemed cheap. Killing rapists and slavers also seems to be an interfictional karmic atonement for the deeds of Khal Drogo, Momoa's breakthrough character from Game of Thrones. But once more, just because something is terrible elsewhere doesn't mean it's easy at home. Since the death of the respected Kalaniʻōpuʻu, monarch of Hawaii proper, his sour son Keoua has taken over as ruler at this crucial juncture in the kingdom's history. The late monarch, however, leaves the kingdom's war god, a red, sharp-toothed image of the deity, mounted on a staff, to the powerful Kamehameha, even if he gives Keoua the authority to govern. To demonstrate his toughness and to mark the end of his time of grieving for his father, Keoua is so furious that he knocks out one of his own teeth. He cautions Moku, Kamehameha's chief counselor, that yours is only beginning. However, despite the advice of Moku and his other regional supporters, Kamehameha will not give up the war god to the new monarch, as this would have gone against the will of the former one, nor would he launch a preemptive attack on the crown. Kamehameha is convinced by Kamehameha that it would be foolish to wait for the Keoua to murder him. Her husband, however, has a secret. Kamehameha demonstrated his identity as the chosen one by toppling the Naha Stone, the immovable rock of the gods, in an origin tale reminiscent of King Arthur and innumerable other legendary rulers. However, the miracle was made possible by a fortunate mini-quake that moved the ground underneath the stone, allowing Kamehameha to turn it over at that exact moment. Despite his best efforts, he has failed to duplicate the achievement. He complains, the gods have gone silent, obviously struggling with genuine thoughts of inadequacy. However, it is precisely what he needs to hear when Kamehameha emphasizes that there is an even greater reason to decide for himself. Kamehameha tells his people of his choice after bringing the god of war to his local shrine. This is only one of the show's many dramatic shots that use the vivid color of the Hawaiians' capes, costumes, and helmets against the green backdrop so well that they could copyright it. He won't go after Keoua. However, Keoua will lose if he fights them. One of his supporters yells, "But the war god is silent, my chief. Therefore, the choice is mine," Kamehameha responds. Chief Moku turns to face his daughter Kamehameha, whom he has forbidden from getting involved in the situation. He is aware that her husband is saying these things, but how can he not be impressed since she achieved the outcomes he was unable to? Which essentially sums up my feelings about this episode. Chief of War's use of color and composition, as well as its willingness to occasionally employ film grammar tricks, this episode features a fast fade/cut hybrid that made this TV critic squirm, are audacious and remarkable. It feels extremely current because of its readiness to go large, huge pictures, big events, big declarations, big feelings.